Today's episode is sponsored by Apex Magazine. Decades after trespassing children spotted Ellen's desiccated corpse wedged in the treetop, Kate Thrush and her former college professor, Dr. Judith Kane, traveled to Cinderwich, Tennessee, in hopes that maybe it was their Ellen, Katie's lost aunt and Judith's long-gone lover. Cinderwich, a new Southern Gothic murder mystery from Sherry Priest, takes the reader on a page-turning trip to a small rural Tennessee town to answer this 30-year-old question. Who put Ellen in the black gum tree? Order now as a trade paperback and digital from bookstores across the world and online retailers such as Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookshop.org. Apex Magazine, a top-tier speculative fiction magazine. Hello, everybody. This is Megan.
And this is Alana.
And welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Here against all odds.
Bonjour.
We're off schedule because on our typical day, Alana's internet was out until the exact moment that I was unavailable, and then it clicked back on. So we're squeezing in a special recording.
That was really special.
It was so obnoxious. The second I was walking out the door, it's back, and I was like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
But Nymeria is joining us from your home office. So we'll probably hear her say hello. Slappy is upstairs, at least last I checked. So
hopefully under a pillow, dying slowly. Sorry, that got dark.
That got dark quick. Anyway, what's up? What's new? You got any updates? You're about to go to Ireland. So an entire group of people are about to be blessed with your Irish accent.
Blessed, literally. Well, I don't know about that. Sorry. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. And I'm going to be a very good girl and not use an Irish accent.
I wonder if anybody's going to ask you just so they can hear it.
To do one?
Yeah.
I don't
They'll
think,
be curious.
Why would they?
Wouldn't you be curious to hear somebody do an American accent if you knew they were notoriously bad at it?
Yeah, I would love it.
Right? It'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll teach you a few tips and tricks.
Because everybody does a Texan accent when they're asked to do an American accent if they're a foreigner. It's funny.
Yeah.
Because it's, I guess, the most iconic. Or in New York, probably. Walking here.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear about your trip. Tell us what you're going to do.
I am going to go to Ireland to marry Mary Kate. I mean...
They've been together for a long time. No, you're going to officiate the wedding between Mary Kate and her soon-to-be husband. So Mary Kate has joined us on some of our Christmas episodes. She's the harpist.
Yeah, she's our favorite.
The lady who rocked a perm in the early 2000s, if you missed those episodes.
Oh, rocked it.
So good. Rocked it like she'd seen things, you know what I mean? So I'm so jealous. I wish I could be a fly on the wall. I can't wait to hear about it when you come back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
But because you're officiating the wedding, which means we're now reversing roles. Our friends, the Reverend and the Reprobate. Are you now the Reverend and I'm the Reprobate now?
Yeah, I'm the Reverend. Yeah.
To be clear,
trouble.
You're not a minister of any sort, right?
I'm not a Reverend.
Yeah. Okay.
Or a nun, though that was one career path for me, but I think it would have ended up like Maria.
Yeah. Well, let's transition to that tea. What do you got?
Okay. Today, we have chai Imperial, black tea, cardamom, and pink pepper. A delicate black tea flavored with a sumptuous blend of spices inspired by Indian tradition can be enjoyed on its own or with milk.
Sumptuous? Is that what you said?
Sumptuous. I said sumptuous.
All right.
Smells like chai. Tastes like chai.
There are no unsolved mysteries here at Tea Time Crimes. You know what I mean?
There really aren't. We bust everyone. This is just a good classic chai. I'm wondering what makes it an imperial chai. Maybe the pink peppercorn? I don't really get that. Maybe there's a little pepperiness, like it like peppers your tongue right at the end as it goes down.
Little dash.
Yeah, a little dash, but really hard on the cardamom, which is what matters. So I mean, you know how I love a chai. This is, let's see, what do I want to give this? I wouldn't call it sumptuous. I mean, I could see where they're going with that. It needs to be more. The thing is, Kolkata ruined everything for me. So, like, you can't be a sumptuous chai and not be a Kolkata.
Rude.
But I'll give this one a solid thumbs up because it's a really good chai tea. When I feel stupid saying that because chai means tea, but you know what I mean. Chai blend, chai masala.
All right, solid thumbs up.
Yeah, cardamom is just one of the best spices. A dash. Because I could tell it was a little, the body can't hold up to too much. So.
Oh boy. Yikes.
Yeah. It's not like my Irish breakfast. It could take a lot of milk.
That's the truth. You're going to have so much good Irish breakfast tea in a couple days.
I know. Because usually on my work trips, I have to pack tea. I have a little satchel of tea. I think you've seen it. And I was like, I don't have to do that because they respect tea over there. So I'm thrilled. I'm so pumped about that part.
I hope you bring some back to showcase on the
Ooh,
podcast.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I will do that.
All right. Well, let's get after it. So today's story is also, I don't think, very well known. I had heard about a story similar, remembered it, went looking for it, thought I found it, and then when I was finished, realized it was a different story. So I stumbled upon it by accident. My brain
I love that.
really took me on a detour. But I did find what got me there the first time was a blog post called Forgotten Stories on forgottenstories.net. It'll be in the source notes. And I read it there and I thought, oh yeah, I think that's the story I was remembering. And then I dove into the papers. But
yeah,
today we're going to talk about Ella Hearn and Lillie.
Ella Hearn.
This last name, how would you say it? Duer. Duer? What?
Duer?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I know.
Dur or dur.
It's not dur.
Very slightly different.
Dur is the sound we make when my father does something silly.
Yeah.
It's probably doer. It's probably duer at some point. But anyway, Lillie Duer.
So you have to say it like that every single time.
Duer.
Yeah.
We'll just call her Lillie.
But in my throat.
On Tuesday, November 12th, 1878, the following two sentences were printed in the Baltimore Sun. Quote, at Newton, Maryland last Tuesday, whilst Miss Lillie Duer was examining a pistol, it was accidentally discharged, the bullet passing through the upper lip of Miss Ella Hearn, breaking off a tooth and lodging in the maxillary bone. Miss Hearn is regarded as very seriously wounded.
What?
That day, the Hearn household turned into a flurry of chaos, as you might imagine, when the gun went off. And Mrs. Hearn, Ella's mother, and the servants were all rushing to get Ella help after this happened. At the same time, a neighbor by the name of Mr. Clark was walking by the Hearn residence, and he heard the single gunshot. He heard a woman scream. He rushes in to see if somebody needs help. Mr. Clark found Ella holding her face, and Lillie, quite literally holding a smoking gun, hunched over Ella, sobbing. But she managed to yell for Mr. Clark to get help.
Get help.
Lillie's first statement of the event explained that the two women had been talking. I'm going to call them women and girls interchangeably. I don't mean anything by it. It just is what it is, okay? Lillie had the pistol, and it went off in her hands, shooting Ella in the face. The headlines following the event read, "The Peril of Playing with a Pistol" in the Richmond Dispatch. And maybe
true.
That's all that it was, a tragic accident among best friends. But there could also be more to the story. So I'm going to lay it out, and then I'll let you decide.
Lay it out, baby. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's early. You got ready to go to Ireland and unleash.
Yeah.
So as the week progressed, more details were added, which put the accident under a different lens, and then some questions maybe start being gently asked of Lillie.
Okay.
And meanwhile, Ella is still alive. She's fighting.
Right.
for her life from a gunshot wound.
Is the maxillary bone, obviously it's a skull bone. It's a part of your mouth.
It's where you're pointing, which is, it's above her upper teeth.
It's your mustache.
It's my mustache. Yeah, it's my mustache bone.
Dear God, help.
I mean, you can't even speak English. I'm not sure how we're going to swing that Irish accent. Yeah, it's the bone that your teeth and your nose between your
connect to.
I guess we have overly described this bone now. We've said mustache. We've pointed to it. We've explained it. If anybody else doesn't know, pick up an anatomy book and, maybe fast forward. Okay, so.
Oh my God.
Anyway, the surgeon had attempted to remove the bullet but was unable to locate it. Think about what that meant. Like, he's rooting
in the brain.
around. No, it's in her maxillary bone, but he's rooting around up there. X-rays weren't invented until 1896.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're a little early for that.
Yeah. Ella is in and out of sedation and obvious pain.
Oh my God, yeah.
The actual wound is healing.
Oh no.
Because it was they call it a ball and not even a bullet. It was a very small.
Yeah, back
round.
in the old days where they had more of those things.
They call it a pea shooter.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's not a big deal because it's in the face, but I'm just explaining why it was maybe able to heal around it because it was tiny. So it started to heal. And at the time, doctors expected her to make a full recovery.
Like an infection.
But a week before her death, Ella pulled her father aside and told him she was not going to survive and she wanted the truth to be known. By the time Ella is done, Mr. Hearn has already decided to start legal proceedings to press charges for attempted murder or murder, depending on what happens to his daughter. Knowing this,
so she was sorry.
No, go ahead. Lay it on me.
She was prepared to say like, "Oh, we got in a fight, but I'm fine." But because she felt like she was going to die, she's like, "This bitch."
I'm not sure. You'll see. It's hard to piece together because
I'm excited for this.
Knowing that charges were about to be brought, Lillie cut her already short hair shorter, dressed in a men's suit, and left town, allegedly.
Bye.
By the 9th, the Baltimore Sun received an exclusive report that Lillie was home again. And then they claimed that the initial rumors had been untrue. But I don't know if that's the case or not. It's also possible that they were trying to save face and somebody convinced Lillie that it would be best to, whether she's guilty or not, it'd be best to be there to face charges because otherwise you're going to look guilty, right? So from here on out, every personal statement that Ella says is through her parents or her caregivers. Okay, we don't get the benefit of Ella's exact words at any point.
Because she's dead now?
Well, all of them are dead now. But what Ella relays in a nutshell is that Lillie shot her intentionally because Ella Hearn had started to become friendly with another woman by the name of Ella Foster. I'll just call her Miss Foster. So if you haven't guessed, Ella and Lillie were more than friends.
Oh, love it. Happy Pride.
Well, this is maybe not the best relationship example, but yeah. So they're more than friends because I don't shoot friends when you have dinner with them. But
oh God.
I mean, I guess I don't. I guess I don't when Brad does either. So Ella and Lillie had gone to school together at a seminary in Maryland, and they were roommates there, and they became best buds,
wink.
Inseparable. The term bosom buddies was thrown around a lot.
Oh, takes on a new meaning.
Do you remember that Tom Hanks show, Bosom Buddies? Just popped into my brain.
You just made that up.
No, I believe that he dressed as a woman to live in a hotel for women.
What?
And I could
a TV show?
Yeah, it was very early 80s.
Okay, I was not
Bosom
around.
buddies. Yes, it's a thing. Two young single men must disguise themselves as women to live in the apartment they can't afford.
That's an extreme measure, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, well.
Love you, Tom Hanks. America's sweetheart.
Anyway. Okay, this is serious. Where am I? Okay, so they were inseparable. I don't know what kind of school they went to. They call it a seminary. I don't know if it's just, I assume it's an all-girls school. That seems cool with the times. But, are they there to learn how to sew or are they there to learn philosophy? I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm guessing it was probably the best at the time because I can't tell you the amount of times these families are called respectable families, highly respectable families. So I'm thinking it was probably the best. The two women, they're teenagers. Ella's 19 and Lillie's 18 at the time of the shooting. They actually happen to live in the same town, which is kind of unusual as well. You might meet somebody at school and then you go back on summer or breaks and you're at different towns. So they actually live in the same area and they can continue their relationship, which has turned romantic. Obviously, this is a secret that they keep between them because
it's the 1800s.
They've both already been debuted in society and expected to get married to a gentleman.
It's that time. Yep.
Yeah, we're showcased at this point.
Yeah.
By Friday the 13th, the papers finally hint at what is really going on, and the headline is now, quote, "A girl's abnormal passion" in the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. Yeah, so here we go.
Getting ready for a lot of homophobic shit.
I was shocked at what was shocked in a weird way. I expected them to gloss over it. They use the word they use the word intimate way too often, but I don't even think they mean it that way. Like they would just describe, to which she was intimate, which just meant that they knew each other. And that's the only word I was seeing. And then this paper was like, actually, let me explain what's happening. This article kind of really spells it out. They say, quote, "Lady Beaux have this advantage over the masculine admirer, that they are admitted to terms of intimacy with the woman of their choice, from which paternal vigilance excludes young men." Basically, they're saying that Lillie and Ella would have had an advantage because their parents wouldn't be watching them. So they can be in the sitting room alone and have their ankles just all up wherever they want it. You know what I mean? They can go to the woods together. They don't have to be chaperoned. They don't have to be watched. They don't have to sit.
Confabulation.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want. And Mr. Hearn said that Lillie was at the house almost every single day.
Wow.
And Lillie is described as smitten with Ella. That's the word that they use.
Okay, got it.
The article goes on to say explicitly, and this is a quote from the 1800s, so bear with me. It says, "Young ladies are required by Vassar etiquette to become smashed on one another. That is, one girl is supposed to fall violently in love with another, and the two treat one another as lovers." So
what?
I was shocked that it said that. It spelled it out.
Bestest friends?
Well, they're supposed to treat one another as lovers. That's what it said. They don't even say pregnant. And I looked it up in the Vassar Library, and it was, in fact, a term used in the 19th century to describe same-sex dating and intimate relationships between women.
Wow.
I also fell down a really bad Urban Dictionary rabbit hole. Don't look up smash and smash. Thank you. It's the new Netflix and chill. And do you remember when we took work quizzes and I always picked Netflix and chill because I didn't know what it meant?
I sure do.
Yeah. It's colored all of my personality assessments.
Oh, those were the days.
I thought it meant watch movies and eat.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, based on the fact that, the newspapers are printing this, they're spelling it out. And I think the fact that it's two women is going over better than if it had been two men.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Which is still something we see today.
Yep.
But
still ridiculous.
I can't really wrap my head around what they're going through in 1878 because I can imagine, I'm just like you can, how women feel suppressed, suffocated in a million different ways, from the corsets they have to wear to the fact that they have to have 10 children and sit there and do what they're told.
Yeah.
But they still, even if the marriage is arranged, it's still something that's out in the open. It's still something that's public. It's still something they get to talk about, be excited about, voice their opinion about. This is a secret that both women would have been carrying completely alone, and it would have been incredibly heavy, and it would have been unsafe. I mean, it's coming out now.
It's all of the above.
Yeah. So it's something, I can't fully grasp at that time. But that fateful day in November was not a one-time moment for Lillie. Ella told her parents that once she started to pull away from her friendship with Lillie or her relationship with Lillie, Lillie showed signs of being possessive and then violent. One afternoon, Ella and Lillie were together in the woods, and by the sounds of it, they were discussing their relationship. I don't think Ella was hiding her feelings and was being pretty upfront. Lillie became so upset that Ella decided the best thing to do was just walk away. So she turns, she walks away. Lillie pulled a gun and fired 3 shots at Ella.
Bro.
None of the bullets hit Ella, but the message is pretty clear. Ella actually turned around and confronted her and knocked the gun out of her hand, and Lillie said she wasn't going to hit her. She was just trying to scare her to stop her.
Well, that's not how you show love, okay, folks?
After that was the big scenario where Ella said, all right, I need to get away from this relationship. And she really started to pull away from Lillie, and she was spending more time with Miss Foster. They don't really talk about Miss Foster any more than that. I don't know if they were just friends, if they were
Probably
romantic.
not.
I'm not sure.
They're probably more than friends.
If that story is true, right? Again, everything we're hearing is through other folks at this point. Think about what Ella is experiencing.
Yeah.
Domestic violence is not even viewed between... Domestic violence is not something that you're really looking at in the 1800s at all, because it's the husband's job to rule the house and nobody really says anything. But Ella can't share this story with anyone. Right. And if she does, that person almost certainly will also keep it a secret.
It's going to be so heavy.
I thought about this. I think that if Ella had met a man in the woods and he had shot at her 3 times when she walked away, she would have told her father, and her father would have had him arrested.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yeah.
But because it was Lillie and there was so much context and there was so much below the meaning of those 3 shots.
God, she must feel so isolated.
She probably didn't feel like she could say anything.
That's sad.
There's a good chance that Ella herself might not have even thought that it was a wrong thing to have happen, because a study done in 2014 that was published by the BBC talks about some of the issues of domestic violence in same-sex relationships currently, in present day. In the U.S., a study at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine found people in same-sex relationships actually experience a higher rate of domestic violence than heterosexual relationships. So the article by Joanna Jolly shares a story of a man who was held at gunpoint by his partner. He escaped after several hours, and it didn't register to him that a crime had just occurred, because domestic violence is viewed as something that happens to a woman by a man so regularly that it can be tough for people to realize that they're in an abusive relationship if they're in a same sex.
Yeah.
And even in 2014, when this article was published, talking about domestic violence could be a risk of being outed or viewed as an issue with being gay rather than being in an abusive relationship. The Human Rights Campaign backs the study up, and they say 1 in 3 women are victims of domestic abuse, 1 in 4 men, and the rates of violence are higher or at least the same as same-sex relationships, when there's a real view that it's less.
Yeah.
And they're saying it's not true. They're saying it's the same or more. You can read the study. It's linked in here. It goes into saying things like, because it's reported less, but also because there's more pressure, societal pressure put on a same-sex relationship.
Yeah.
Because the discrimination, because of the pressure to have it succeed. So something is happening to Ella that she has no reference for, no support, no way to protect herself. The best she can hope for is that Lillie will just leave her alone, right? If all of this is true. So the development of a pattern of abuse is kind of rearing its ugly head with these stories coming into alignment. And the Smyrna Times wrote, "It is insisted upon by her friends," meaning Lillie's, "that the shooting was accidental. Though there is a story going the rounds that Miss Hearn had been threatened before the shooting and that Miss Duer had become jealous of another young lady for whom Miss Hearn had exhibited marked affection." So they're just starting to say,
Yeah.
Which, again, I was surprised to find this in the paper that they were talking about this stuff when, again, they won't say the words. They say delicate instead of pregnant. And the story is kind of sandwiched among articles that make it very clear everybody thinks Lillie is very respectable, that it was probably an accident. Her parents are so great. P.S. Lillie is, quote, reported to be intelligent and strikingly handsome. So,
of course,
there's that too. Both women are said to be intelligent and handsome or pretty. Ella's described as pretty. Lillie is handsome. But Lillie had kind of been viewed previously as a little different because she likes to wear pants.
She's the more masculine.
Such a stupid sentence to say. I'm sorry. It's like Lillie wears pants.
It's ridiculous.
So everybody had questions.
Yeah.
She also wears her hair short, and you might want to earmuff for this, but she parts her hair on the side. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's just shocking attire. Anyway, Lillie continued to visit Ella after that day in the woods when she shot at her 3 times, and she kept pressuring her to go for a walk. Each time Ella says, "No, I'm good," because she's probably terrified. And then one night they had been hanging out as a group, because this is a time when you make social calls, and if Lillie shows up, Ella's not going to storm out.
Yeah.
So they have this group outing. She again asked Ella to go for a walk in the woods. And again, Ella said no. And Lillie got very mad and said something along the lines of, "Well, that's it. I'm never going to walk with you again." Or, kind of like a final statement. So then the next day after that interaction, Lillie came by the house again. And Ella again refused to go for a walk. And Lillie asked her, goes back and forth. Some reports say Lillie asked her if she loved Miss Foster. Some reports Lillie asked if she loved her.
Bro, you shot at her.
Then she tried to kiss Ella, and Ella pushed her away or, brushed her off. And Lillie made a threat saying, if you, don't love me, or if you love Ella more, say that again. And then she shot her in the face. So on December 6th.
Fuck you, Lillie.
Ella Hearn died. The papers are now really starting to scrape the surface of murder being a possibility. Once the coroner's inquiry was completed, the Daily Gazette reported, Miss Hearn came to her death from nervous depression caused by a ball shot from a pistol in the hands of Miss Lillie Duer on the 5th day of November, 1878. Because technically the gunshot wound had healed. Again.
Do you think there could have been an infection, though?
I don't think there was an infection, but there's something else going on. And once you hear the medical treatments, I mean, I just feel that
we're in the 1800s.
Yeah, today they would have had a pretty good handle on it. The official charge was brought against Lillie for murder.
Good.
Lillie was released on bail right away. And the trial is set for May. Now, the papers, while they're waiting for this trial, they get a little bit more flowery and dramatic with the retelling of the story in the meantime. They're kind of adding in dialogue from the last interaction, claiming that because Lillie was an avid reader of Byron and studied medicine, that's why this had happened. Which is so fascinating to me. It's the same argument people make today when something happens. But the grand jury met. They officially decide to indict Lillie for murder. And public opinion seems to be completely split down the middle. Half the people think she did it on purpose. Half the people think it was an accident.
Do they know her other behavior of shotting her and stuff?
Yeah, they've read the accounts. I read that quote. But I wonder if it's maybe hard for some people to grasp.
Yeah, fair.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's totally foreign to them.
Also, I think there might be a loyalty thing going on here. If these are two respectable families, you're probably just
like Romeo and Juliet.
You're falling on either side of the family's loyalty, whichever one benefits you more or makes more sense for you, rather than just what you truly believe. Because there are probably, if they really are respectable folks, there's probably levers they can pull to make your life pretty miserable.
Yeah.
But Lillie's reaction to the verdict was captured by reporters, and her first account of the story, right, had been that they were looking at the gun. She playfully said, "I'll shoot," and the gun went off. Now she's saying that she wanted Ella to go for a walk. Ella said no. Lillie tried to kiss her. Ella pushed her away. Lillie opened the gun to check the cartridges that were in it, and her glove slipped. And it went off. Okay.
That's a worse story.
Awaiting the trial, Lillie is kept under sheriff watch at a hotel with her sister allowed to be there for company. Not really a jail.
No, doesn't seem bad at all.
Nope.
A little vacay.
Yeah. The day the trial starts, Lillie arrived in a gray dress with black trim, a green veil, which I could not picture. Doesn't that seem like a weird choice? And a black hat.
Huh.
Her parents and sister were there in support. And Lillie had, from the start, refused to enter a plea of insanity. She said it was an accident I will not. She's a very proud lady. I will give her
Yeah.
that.
I wonder if her family knows she's gay.
Well, they do now. The trial started on May 29th, and the public was kind of waiting to see if she changed her mind once the pressure of the actual trial hit. But her team entered a plea of not guilty. However, the papers were real quick to note that that might change if the trial goes a different way. They would still reserve the right to go back to insanity. At the start, there are 4 possible charges against Lillie. There's first-degree and second-degree murder. There's manslaughter and there's homicide. I think what they mean by that is homicide is technically saying that someone was killed, but that it was not necessarily unlawful. So things like self-defense at this time would fall under homicide, I believe.
Okay.
Or an accident.
Makes
Opening
sense.
arguments for the state pointed out that the jury of 12 men must be fair, even though a woman's on trial, which is always the case. You have to make sure that you're willing to sentence a woman.
Imagine putting women on a jury.
Yeah.
Not there yet.
The first witness called was Ella's mother, Mrs. Hearn, who recounted the day of the shooting, and Mrs. Hearn agreed that the week after the incident, Ella was not lucid, because this is going to become a real sticking point for the defense, that Ella was not lucid, but after that week, she was. And Ella lived for 4 weeks and 3 days in agonizing pain, refusing medicine towards the end because she wanted to be clear-headed.
Wow.
Yeah. Mrs. Hearn was understandably very emotional on the stand.
Yeah.
And it was a rough day. The following day, Lillie's sister-in-laws were witnesses. Mrs. Clara Duer went first, speaking kind of about the relationship between Lillie and Ella, saying they were really close, they were best friends. Clara had called on Ella. This is a time when, if somebody's sick, it's published in the paper, even if it's...
Right.
Even if they have a cold or gout. Like,
can you imagine?
And then everybody comes and sees them. So Clara had been visiting Ella while she was recovering, and while she was there, Clara, this is Lillie's sister-in-law, testified that Ella asked where Lil was and said that the shooting had not been an accident. Clara also relayed that Ella had been making somewhat of a recovery and was eating and in good spirits and kind of sitting up about a week before her death. Because you'll see the defense, there's a tactic here to put doubt in the jury that Ella died from the actual gunshot. Because the wound itself was survivable. It had healed. They are laying the groundwork for a pre-existing condition. Because technically, the coroner said Ella died from nervous depression brought on by the gunshot. Ella also had a kidney condition, which meant they described her as delicate all over the place in a different way. Not pregnant, but delicate. Constitution. Clara had, recounted all her visits there, which are all pretty much the same. She even said that Ella would ask where Lillie was and why she wasn't with Clara, which the defense loved. But again, this is a roundabout way of saying it, right? It's coming from somebody else. But also, Ella could have been on drugs and delirious.
Right.
Ella could have been scared that Lillie was with her and was checking to see if she wasn't. Also, the cycle of abuse is very confusing and very scary. Maybe she wanted to see her. We don't know.
Yeah.
Lillie's second sister-in-law, Alice, basically said all the same stuff.
Okay.
Mrs. Dennis was a caretaker of Ella's and sat up with her a lot during the night and really had a good grasp on Ella's state of mind and when she was and wasn't taking drugs. According to Mrs. Dennis, Ella described constant pain and feared she was going to die. She would wake up out of her sleep yelling, "Don't shoot me." Ella spoke of how much she was suffering and wished that Lillie had killed her right away.
Jeez.
Mrs. Dennis said that Ella would also jump at loud noises, afraid they were gunshots, and was scared that Lillie was in the hall waiting to hurt her.
So sad.
No one else really said that except Mrs. Dennis.
Yeah, because she was probably attending her so much, right?
Yeah, and in the middle of the night. Dr. Truitt, the guy who was there from the start, explained that he attempted to remove the bullet.
Yeah.
But he was unable to locate it. And he outlined the treatments and the medications that Ella received. He also testified that Ella told him what really happened the day of the shooting. According to him, Ella and Lillie walked to the door. Lillie asked Ella outright if she loved her, to which Ella responded no. It was then that Lillie pointed the gun at Ella's face and told her to say that again. Or don't say that again or I'll shoot you. And that's the last thing Ella remembered.
Oh my God. Bro, you're nuts.
Yeah. Mr. Hearn's testimony added even more details to the encounter. So Ella's father talking about the previous episode in the woods, and that in addition to saying, say that again or don't say that again,
Right.
she'd also tried to kiss Ella.
This girl's not getting it.
2 other women who had sat with Ella often, Mrs. Truitt and Mrs. Mason, had very similar stories to tell. And Mrs. Truitt, I think it's the doctor's wife, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Too much of a coincidence, was able to recount the entire conversation where Ella told her of Lillie's mistreatment. She clearly said that the shooting was intentional. Lillie was mad at her from the night before because she refused to walk in the woods with her. And the next day, Lillie came to the house. Ella was sewing, and she kept taking the work out of Ella's hands. It almost sounds like when you have 2 kids playing on a playground and one's being a jerk.
Yeah.
Kind of taking it out of Ella's hands. And then Mrs. Hearn finally said, Ella, why don't you walk Lillie out? So Ella got up, walked Lillie to the door. Lillie left and came back a couple times while Ella was in the door. And then the following is quoted from the Baltimore Sun. They kind of relay the notes of it, and it was interesting to watch it unfold. So they're talking about Lillie. Lillie asked her if she, Ella, would take back what she had said and attempted to kiss her. That she, Ella, pushed her down. So Ella pushed Lillie down and then laughed and she thinks that she hurt her, for she pushed her real hard. Lil got up and went up to her again and commenced talking, that she, Ella, told her to go home and leave her alone. Witness thinks Ella said Lil asked her if she loved Ella Foster better than her. That Lil stepped back and said, repeat that and I'll kill you. Now at this point, the paper stops and said, witness, meaning Mrs. Truitt, said to Ella, perhaps Lil was only trying to frighten you. Ella replied, you would not say that, Mrs. Truitt, if you had seen her countenance and the rage she was in. So it's the same kind of thing. Like they had this interaction in the hallway where Lily's saying, do you love this other woman more than me, or do you not love me? She tries to kiss her. It sounds like Ella actually tried to defend herself a little bit more than the other accounts. Like she pushed Lil back really hard, which made Lil mad. And then she could tell by the look in her eyes that she was filled with rage, and then she was shot.
But wasn't her Mrs. Hearn just a room away?
She was in the next room, yeah. Well, it might have been a couple rooms over. I'm sure the doors were closed, right? They're kind of in the sitting room. And Ella also showed Mrs. Truitt a mark on her arm where I think the bullet had grazed. And Ella said specifically, I wished I'd lift my arm higher to save myself from this. Dr. Truitt was cross-examined by the defense, and he testified that Lillie had visited when Ella was recovering. And she had been very concerned with Ella's condition and asked if she would survive, to which Dr. Truitt said, yeah, she's going to be fine. The ball had gone under the lip, broke a tooth, and was stuck in that maxillary or mustache bone. During the first week, this is gross, bone fragments shed and stuck in the gums.
Oh, God, that sounds awful.
But at the autopsy, the wound was healed over with no signs of infection. But Dr. Truitt ended his testimony by saying he thought the shock to Ella's nervous system was greater than he'd initially realized, and that had been the ultimate cause of her death.
Oh.
But also, Ella complained pretty regularly of her limbs hurting a lot, which makes me think something...
Before or after?
After she was shot.
Okay.
So even though maybe the actual wound was healing and not showing signs of infection, she's complaining this whole time that her limbs hurt, which I mean... It's just too much of a coincidence for me to think they're not related. So something more must have been going on that they just couldn't grasp.
Huh. I mean, who knows? Like, she could have, like, ingested lead or...
I know, I was going to say...
I don't know, like, something.
Could be poisoning. It could have been an infection that they just didn't... It could have been some sort of infection of the blood rather than of the incision site. It could have done nerve damage that... Something else happened, right? She didn't just get nervous and die. She was shot in the face.
Yeah. Like, that's a heinous wound to get shot in the face.
Before the defense kind of ramps up, they consider an insanity plea. I think they want to go for it. Lillie says, I would rather rot in jail. I'm not going to let you do it. Refuses. So they proceed. The biggest issue at play for the trial is whether all of this information you've just heard can be submitted, because they're calling it the dying declaration, because it's not from Ella herself.
Oh, I see.
Ella's the only witness. And so if they don't allow that, then the state has absolutely no case.
Yeah.
There's also a case being made that you're going to like this. You can't possibly prove malice or bad intent on Lillie's part because girls always argue. So, are you kidding me? I'd never heard a reverse of boys will be boys
sexist
argument, but here it is.
Yeah.
Girls are always fighting. So, what? No, I literally have never pulled a pistol on Alana. Never, not once, not one time. I mean, we're remote, so, Ultimately, the court ruled to allow Ella's statements from a week before her death. So Lillie's defense team is not pleased. That's a big hit for them, but good for the Hearns. So all of Ella's statements from her family are allowed.
Okay.
Now, Lillie's family has found themselves in a bit of trouble. There's only a little bit of this in the papers because one of her male relatives, they don't say who, attempted to bribe a woman by the name of Miss Webb. Apparently, Miss Webb had, quote, terms of intimacy with Lillie and had been called to testify.
Oh.
The relative offered her money to leave town and not return.
Oh.
The story in the paper goes like this. Mr. Hearn caught wind, set himself outside the final meeting place, listened to the arrangements being made, and before Miss Webb could say yes or no, Mr. Hearn bust through the door, drew his own gun, told the man to get on his knees.
Whoa.
And was like, this is done.
Whoa.
I never saw Miss Webb testify in the paper, so I don't know if that actually happened, but this was one of the stories going on. Mrs. Hearn was called back to the stand and added even more details. She's the most emotional. It's very hard for her.
Well, it's her baby.
I'm not saying I don't understand. I'm just setting the scene so you can understand Lily's reaction in a few minutes. She's talking about how Lillie came over that day and kept taking the sewing away. She wanted her to go for a walk, back and forth. She said that she punched Ella and joked about it. I assume punched her in the arm because punching in the face isn't super funny. She offered Ella berries. Ella declined.
What the fuck?
And then Lillie dropped the berries down Ella's back. Sounds like just really being annoying.
She's really mature.
That's when Mrs. Hearn said, why don't you see Lillie out?
Yeah, get out of here.
And while Ella was trying to recover, Lillie did come to visit. Mrs. Hearn says that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But she remembers Ella insisted even then that it was intentional. And Lillie said, no, it wasn't. It was an accident. Don't say those things or they're going to lock me up.
Well.
And then Lillie hugged Ella. And the rest of the conversation was lost because Lillie was whispering something to Ella, which is a little bit scary.
Yeah. And she's stuck in like a hospital bed or whatever.
She could have been threatening her life.
Yeah, totally.
Now, Lillie has been stone cold through this trial. The only real sign of emotion is during this testimony. When Mrs. Hearn is getting emotional, Lillie's getting annoyed.
Annoyed?
Yeah.
Is she a 2%er? Wow, that's fucked.
Yeah, it's not until the 9th day of the trial that the prosecution rested and the defense really was going after it, right? I mean, we've talked a little bit about what they're doing and some of their tactics, but I just want you to understand it took 9 days just for the prosecution to go.
Wow.
So they're calling witnesses who recounted Lily's concern for Ella after she was shot, saying immediately that it was an accident. So everybody who was there immediately after, what did Lillie say? She said it was an accident. But from here on out, Lillie and her family have a very different version of events. So Lily's father, Littleton, had been present the night of that group outing where apparently Lillie asked Ella to go for a walk. Ella refused and Lillie said, well, fine, forget it. That's it. He said that never happened. He said that the girls were friendly, just like always, no rifts between them. It was actually Ella who asked Lillie to go for a walk and Lillie couldn't. And so Ella kissed her and said goodbye. There was also another gentleman at that outing. He said the same thing, that there was no tension, that nothing had ever happened between them. They also bring Dr. Truitt back because they really want to grill him on those medications, because if Ella is not in her right mind, then what she says loses credibility, even though it's through her parents. But Dr. Truitt doesn't seem super concerned with the amounts. They kept asking, like, well, how much did you give her? What did you give her? And he's like, yeah, I did administer Quarrel, which is a sedative painkiller, but I have no idea how much. I also gave quite a bit to Mrs. Hearn, so it's possible she could have been using the same bottle. Like, there's no way to tell. Your guess is as good as mine. That's kind of the vibe that he set up. I'm sure he said it much more 1800s. Boy. But he basically was like, yeah, listen, I had a bottle of painkiller and she used it as needed, which
Yeah.
makes sense. If you had a bottle of Tylenol or something, you would.
People do that today, like not in a weird way, but like, yeah, if you're going to take as much as you need.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know how much she took. And also other people were taking it, right? So if there was a bottle of Tylenol there and, Mrs. Hearn was taking it too, I don't know how much Ella took. But the defense did their due diligence and went to the pharmacy. According to the chemist, these are the prescriptions picked up for Ella. 1 ounce of hydrate of chloral, 1/2 ounce of cinnamon, no idea. 2 more purchases of hydrate of chloral. However, the last bottle was never given to Ella. It was unopened because she died. But the defense makes an argument that it's possible more of that chloral was picked up without a prescription. So the amount becomes a mystery. And the defense speaks to each person who sat with Ella and admitted to administering the drug to try to see if maybe she was getting more than they were saying, or maybe double doses, or getting some when she had previously said she hadn't. By June 16th, the theory that doctors overdosed Ella is being printed in the papers.
Come on.
But the papers kind of cracked me up. They're like, well, they basically say maybe, but she wouldn't have needed the medicine if she hadn't been shot in the face. So
yeah, right.
That's basically what they say.
Let's
They're
go
like,
back to this point.
Yeah, maybe, but there's a reason she was getting all of this medication.
Yeah. Can you imagine being shot in the face? Fuck.
The defense brings in several medical experts to talk about the chloral that she took, because we know that she was delicate and nervous. And so how could this medication interact with her already pre-existing conditions? And they have several medical experts who say that that alone could have killed her. It's a really fascinating argument that places a seed of doubt, while also blaming Ella, right?
Yeah.
It's because Ella wasn't strong enough. She couldn't survive the medication. It's really gross.
Awful.
I mean, you have to, if there was another thing at play, of course you have to talk about it, but
yeah, but like, also remember she's trying not to take it too because she wants to be lucid.
I know. Lillie also took the stand. Okay, now this is Lillie's side of the story.
Yeah, let's hear it, Lillie.
It's basically the same, but with all the violence taken out.
Okay.
Lillie had gotten the gun at Ella's suggestion, and the two liked to go to the woods for target practice. Right before the shooting, Lillie was without the gun for 3 months because she had lent it to her friend, Mr. Corbin. They call him Mr. Corbin, so immediately I was thinking a 50-year-old man, but I think it's just another teenager.
Okay.
Leading up to the day of the incident, Lillie saw Ella on Saturday. Ella had an issue with her foot, so Lillie came by the next day to check on her. Lillie said Ella sat in her lap for the entire visit. The two saw each other Monday night in that group setting. Lillie said it was Ella who asked to go for a walk in the woods and wanted Lillie to walk then, but Mr. Corbin was still visiting. And Lillie said that other witnesses said Ella must be jealous of Mr. Corbin. Lillie denies ever saying anything about I will never walk with you again, or, this is it. It was all Ella who was asking Lillie. Ella kissed her goodbye. The day of the shooting, Ella was visiting the Hearn house. The berries were offered. Ella declined. Then Ella stuck Lillie with a needle, playfully, like in the arm, which prompted Lillie to put the berries down Ella's back. So Lillie's painting this picture of it's a more give and take, a more back and forth, rather than just Lillie being annoying. Ella then walked Lillie to the door. Now, Lillie said it was obvious that Ella was not going for a walk based on her outfit. She wasn't dressed for it, and that was no big deal. Lillie said, I take it you're not going for a walk, and Ella said, no, I got to finish my sewing. The two joked about an assortment of things. Trust me, it was a had to be there kind of moment, and none of it made sense to me. Then one of them opened the door, and the door knocked Lillie down, not Ella, and they laughed about it. Then they saw a man walking or riding by on a horse, and the horse was laboring pretty hard, and the two girls were talking about how you should never ride a horse to that extent, and they were kind of mad at the man. So Lillie ran out to watch and see who it was, and then came back to explain her going back and forth. Ella asked Lillie to come back in the house because it was cold and she wanted to shut the door. And that's when Lillie said, oh, I got my gun back from Mr. Corbin. I'd wanted to go in the woods for target practice today. That's why I wanted to go for that walk. Ella was standing against the door and Lillie was leaning over a railing on a step, and she pulled the gun out and pulled back the hammer, and her glove, which was a new glove, slipped and it fired. She was in such shock that she doesn't remember anything after that very well. She wholeheartedly denied the previous incident in the woods because she said she did not have the gun even in her possession at that time to shoot those 3
Sounds like
shots.
we need to get Mr. Corbin on the stand.
I know. Why don't we just ask Mr. Corbin? He was on the stand.
Yeah.
They didn't ask him this.
What?
At least it wasn't printed in the paper. He was on the stand and he backed up Lillie's first version of the story about the group setting, saying, the girls were fine. And then Ella went home.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was mad. Lillie recounts the story of visiting Ella afterwards. And this is what she says happened. She said Ella was, up and alert and asked Lillie, "You did not intend to do it, did you? They told me that you intended to kill me dead and would do it again. Would you?" Lillie responded, "No." And then Ella asked if Lillie loved her and why she hadn't come before when she'd been calling for her. And Lillie said, "I never knew you were calling for me. I didn't get any of the notes that were apparently sent." As she was leaving, Lillie reported that she heard Mrs. Hearn and Mrs. Dennis tell Ella not to think of Lillie anymore because Lillie had tried to kill her. Lillie even went so far as to say that when she went to visit Ella on her deathbed, Ella hugged Lillie and said she knew she couldn't have shot her on purpose. So, okay, this is a very different story. Is there a world in which the Hearns did not like Lillie and were trying to set this up to break up the relationship? And that it truly was an accident?
Seems an extreme way to do that.
Well, the accident
Their daughter's already
happened.
dead.
No. This was, this is happening while she's still alive, right? So what Lillie's saying is that it was an absolute accident. She feels terrible about it. She was very concerned. Ella knew it was an accident. Ella had been asking for her because she wanted to see her, but nobody was telling Lillie to come. And then when she did, she overheard the caregiver saying, "No, Lillie did try to kill you. No, Lillie, it was intentional. No, Lillie did try to kill you." So Lillie's creating this story about like the Hearns and the caregivers are feeding Ella these lies while she's in pain and sedated and under medication. Is that a possibility? Or is this Lillie's explanation for literally shooting her girlfriend in the face?
When did Ella tell her dad about the woods shooting?
After she was shot. After she'd been shot and was trying to recover, I think, is when she explained it.
I don't know. She told so many people
know.
the same story.
That's what I think too. Like Mrs. Dennis, Mrs. Truitt. I could see if the Hearns, if there was like some weird conspiracy between the parents and they were trying to get Lillie out of their lives in some way. But there's so many, like the doctor too even said it.
Yeah. It's hard to believe. I mean, obviously, we wish we could hear from Ella herself.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We can't.
To really understand it. But also, like, that accidental, that doesn't seem... Like,
I know. See, here's the thing.
Here's the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you do your thing first.
You would never, ever point a gun in someone's face who you love. It's like, I don't even have a gun, and I know that's protocol. You don't point guns at people because just in case, accidental discharge. Like, that's an insane thing to do. So I think no matter what, she was threatening her. You know what I mean?
That's where I landed too, because it said more than once that Lillie was an expert marksman, that she was very good with a gun.
Right, and you know not to do that.
And you would not be having a casual conversation and flip open the gun to count the bullets at that time while it was pointed at somebody if you were really familiar with a gun.
Exactly. Shit.
Well, the defense brings this argument home in closing, doubling down on the cause of death as just Ella being nervous and being delicate and undercutting the Hearns' reliability.
It's not how that works.
With Ella's dying declaration not being, 100% truthful. The jury deliberated until later that night, and then they returned a verdict of guilty of murder, but with recommendation for mercy. The judge instructed that's not a thing. You have to decide. You have to pick guilty for murder or guilty for manslaughter. You can't just come in here and then expect me to, do your work for you. Before they could answer, the defense asked to poll the jury. They said, "Whoop, we want to know what everybody said." By the time they got to juror number 8.
Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. By the time they got to juror number 8, he said not guilty. And everyone was like, "What the hell? But that's the wrong answer.
Oh, yeah. Don't they have to unanimously agree?
Yeah. The judge was like, oh, geez, go back. Like, don't come back until you all understand how unanimous works. Okay.
Yeah.
Get out of
Because
here.
otherwise it's a hung jury, right?
Yeah. So they go back. They come out shortly after, and they decided that their verdict was guilty of manslaughter.
So it was an accident.
Before you get mad or happy, all Lillie had to do was pay a fine of a few $100s.
What?
200 of which was raised by her friends, and she was home before the weekend was done. The options for manslaughter at that time were jail or a fine up to $500, and the court said they picked the most severe fine of $500.
But that's a violent crime. I mean, I know that manslaughter is accident, so that's probably where they're getting around.
It's because they came back with guilty for manslaughter, not guilty for murder.
Fuck.
The following month after her release, Lillie announces a lecture tour and an upcoming article to be published in the Philadelphia Times. But a few weeks later, the lectures were canceled, and it's everywhere, but the Detroit Free Press prints, Lillie Duer will not lecture. This is the first redeeming feature she has shown. Yikes. In November of 1881, a small paragraph in the Philadelphia Inquirer reported that Lillie had been married to a, quote, young man. But the following week, there was a correction printed in the papers. It was actually her sister, not her, who had been married to a young man. And nobody knows what became of Lillie after that.
What?
Yeah. So what do you think? You think it was intentional?
I do. Just based on the facts. Even in Lillie's story.
Yeah.
You just don't point a gun at someone, even as a joke.
Yeah.
That's loaded. I mean, again, I just wish we could hear from Ella, because if the stories of her previous violent behavior are true, then like this really adds up.
And she just said it so many times.
Yeah.
She said it to everybody.
People. Yes. It's not like her mom was like, she tried to do this on purpose. And you're like, and then she's like, yeah, you're right. Like, that's not how this happened. And it's not how she told people.
She said it to so many people, and
it's really sad.
Very sad.
Not a great pride story.
I know. I told you. I said, hold on. I didn't even mean to do that.
I know. It kind of worked out.
Got some domestic abuse hotlines for anybody who is in same-sex relationships experiencing domestic violence. Reach out for help. And I think this is a story of domestic violence. I don't think it's an accident, but we'll never know for sure.
I'm with you there. We'll never know unless you could talk to the dead.
Either way, it's awful.
I
would love to hear from Ella, and I would love to have a, current day doctor assess Ella, because I love how
and coroner, honestly.
Yes, and of course, well, if she hopefully she'd be alive to tell us her story. So it would be like, really, she has a bullet in her face that she didn't have before, and you're telling me there's like, she should be fine. She should be fine with that.
Just a little nervous.
Yeah, the girl's just anxious. You know what I mean? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. And why are her arms hurting? She didn't get shot in the arms. Why are her arms and legs hurting?
Exactly.
Like something's going on with her whole system.
The body's connected.
The body's freaking out. And for her to have to spend her final days, a whole month, trying to heal from that. And
awful.
If the accounts are true, she was scared. She would have been scared of Lillie.
Yeah.
And even if the accounts aren't true, she would have been stuck in there being told they were true and been confused. Right. So either way,
awful.
It's just an awful
way.
Awful final month for Ella. And it did not have to be like that.
No, not at all. That's really sad.
All right. What are your last words?
I mean, one, if someone doesn't love you, violence won't make them love you. It'll make it go the other way. 2, don't point guns in people's face, even if you're not trying to kill them.
Yep.
That's it.
All right. Yeah, that'll do it. Who should listen?
Doctors, coroners. Are coroners doctors? Yeah, they have to be, right?
Yes, but they're often called separately.
But they're dead people doctor.
Creepy.
Mothers, people in relationships. And let's throw people who ride horses. Make sure not to ride them too hard.
No matter what the story is, if there's even a suggestion of animal abuse, that's where you hone in. You're like, I realize that we're talking about a murder in a trial, but did you hear that horse was perspiring? That
the froth on the back.
1872 or whatever it was. Did you hear about a horse who was sweating a little bit? That's where my concern is.
Oh.
Fair, yeah. Don't ride your horses too hard. All right. Well, you can find us on all the platforms at
Tea Time Crime.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com.
Please rate, review, like, subscribe, send us recommendation for Teas and Crime.
Do it. Tell your friends to listen. Spread the word.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.